I'm just going to ease one out. As I said before, I'm not fully opening these bags because it makes it really easy for stuff to just spray out all over the place and get lost. So I've just got a tiny hole in it at the moment, which allows me to get the odd one out. Once I get to actually using most of those in one go on some of the later stages, then we'll open the bag and spray them all over the place. I'll just put that back in there. So that's one of the parts, and that goes with this servo here, on which I put in part 16, which is this big one here. So that essentially goes through there, and this nut will go on the bottom. Now what you've got actually on the bottom of here is a recess into which the nut drops. So it's a bit like a lock nut type arrangement. That's dropped into there. What I can then do is just screw this in, and I don't need two screwdrivers, two spanners, which is good because I don't have to have one handy. But what I can do is just use a pair of pliers carefully. Shouldn't really, because you can round off the metal, but again, this isn't about cranking it down, this is about holding it in place. And in actual fact, he says about holding it in place. I'm just going to take that back out, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little tiny bit of thread lock on it, which will stop it vibrating loose. Now then, did I put the thread lock back in the thread lock box? Was I that organised? No. Yes. Maybe. Yes, I was. I was actually organised enough to put this back. Now what you may be surprised at is just how long doing some of this. Now I only want a little tiny amount, don't need much. I'm not sort of permanently gluing this, it's only a little tiny dot is needed. It is just there to stop the vibration causing the nuts, or in this case the bolt I guess, vibrating loose. The thread lock, what the thread lock does is it sets over a period of time, so it sort of acts a bit like a glue, but it's quite a weak glue. It won't actually stop me undoing it if I want it to do so. Now then, I now need metal BB, metal kit BB. Which is, don't believe it. No, that's metal kit B, not BB. And I recall this is where I started to get a little bit confused when I was doing it, doing the first one ever of this, when I did the Scania, is you've got BB and metal B. So MB and BB, and when you're looking on here, parts are labelled MA or MB, but they're in the bag A, metal A. It gets a bit confusing. Oh come on, this is only a not a nail, it's a staple. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, and I will need a bag to put these in. I mentioned last time, something like a pack of these Ziploc bags is quite useful for this. Now then, I'm going to need out of here one of the only, yes, there's only one lot of nuts in here. It's I only need one out. This is a 2mm nut, and this can be frustrating. If you can get, if you choose to build something like this, if what you can get is you can get yourself a lot of small boxes with lids that seal quite tightly, like small tiny project boxes or that sort of, you know, little tiny tubs, whatever, something that you can actually put these in and seal them in so that if you knock it over they don't fly all over the place. Put your piece of paper in with them, like I'm going to do here. Then they're a little bit more convenient because you can just sort of obviously tip the whole bag out into a sealable container, and then it's easy to sort of get in with a pair of pliers or tweezers just to pull out the one nut that you want out of the 100 that's there. Okay. You do eventually sort of end up with all the nuts and bolts bags open around you. Now this one will go through the other. Again, tiny bit. It doesn't really is a tiny bit as well. I mean, there's plenty in there, but it just doesn't really serve much purpose to have lots of it on the nut. It doesn't sort of make it a stronger thing. You know, it either resists it or it doesn't. The sort of loads of extra thread lock does not make any difference. So I just drop the nut into the recess on the bottom, and again tighten that slightly just so it's firm, nothing else. So that's the servos put together. What we've now got to do is put them on their mountings, which is described up here in this section here, where so these are now the mounting plates for either of for both of the servos, and they are 2-part mounting kits. So I am now looking for 2 different plastic trees. One set on plastic tree C, I think. Here labelled C4, which are these 2 parts here. Just one set of the arms. Again, I'm sort of tidying this up, this cut up. Not really important. It's not rough. Well, it is rough, but it's not sharp. It's not going to cut any wires or anything like that. So there we go. So I'll need those 2, and I now need part Q6. So I've now got to find the Q tree. Which may be that one. If I can. I'm just maybe this one I've got in my hand. I'm just looking for the flag. It's at the bottom there. Yeah, that's cute. So I can put that to one side for the moment. Get rid of the staples. Okay, now this is being built in real time. I am a little bit building this a little bit slower than I would if I was doing it not on camera, because when you're doing it on camera, I'm partly explain. So I do stop from time to time, but essentially I am not taking my time. I'm doing this at a sort of normal speed, so this is quite a lengthy process. It doesn't necessarily look like it is going to be a lengthy process, but it is. It's not a 10-minute activity to build one of these things. It is several hours. So if in cutting it off a sprue, or indeed if there's any sort of really sharp edges, I do tend to just knock them down, because you might be putting your hand in the truck just to try and get a nut in and you cut yourself. So essentially what I'll be doing is that will go in there and that will go in here to match the servo, so it gets sort of mounted kind of like that. So I now want out some more screws. I want out a screw MA8, which is a flanged screw from Metal Pack A, which is this one, and it's a larger dark screw which is flanged, which is that one. And again, I may have mentioned it, but they do put wildly different screws into here, so there's two which are quite close to each other in size. This one and a silver one. One is 10mm long, one's 8. You can see that when they're side by side, but the fact that one's black and one's silver makes it easy to distinguish. If they had a silver one which was 10mm rather than these which are 8, they'd probably put it in a different bag. They were quite clever like that. So this is this particular way of mounting things here is to allow different size servos to be used. So if some are longer than the other, he says, yeah, I've got that in the right way around. If some are longer than others, then you want to adjust the size so it fits correctly. I'm just going to change the bit in this screwdriver. I screw this up, or screw it in a little bit anyway. Right, at the moment I've left it a little tiny bit loose so this will move, so I can adjust it to fit the servo. And now I want BC1, so that's this kit here, and BC1 is a small non-flanged, okay, that's probably all that's in here, yeah it is, a small non-flanged soft tapping screw, just that one. Okay, I mentioned a minute ago the silver one in here is the same as this black one but without a washer mounted to it, so you'd be able to tell them apart because one's black, one's silver, although one has a washer and one doesn't. So this then gets mounted here. You kind of at times need 3 hands for some of this, but it's not too difficult. Don't need thread lock on these, the fact that they're going into plastic means that they lock themselves. Now this one I will tighten up. I don't need to leave this one loose because this has no adjustment. Again, tight enough, not over tight. I keep emphasising that, but it can be really easy to strip, and if you do strip the threads, then you need to get a new part. Now then, bit to remember, undo the wire here before you mount it, because if you mount it with the wire on, you just have to take it off and do it again. Right, that essentially will go in there. And what you do is you'll adjust the size. Now then, their suggestion here is to directly mount this, what they would call hard mount, or what I call hard mount. Oh yes, which is to drive a screw straight through there. So this is hard connected to this. I am tempted, at least initially, to put the rubber mounts in. He says thinking about it. The reason for rubber mounts is basically just to allow some flexibility, which the bit on the top here means you don't need that flexibility, you know, to allow it to move slightly. It's also there to stop vibration, which could cause the servo to be a little bit jittery. But the reason I'm hesitating putting in the rubber mounts and the ferrules that go with them is that I need to put all four in, because otherwise the servo will be at an angle, and if I do that, then the ferrules, there's oh, it isn't. Oh, it is, yes. This is kind of cut out, but no, I'm going to put the. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the ferrules on and the rubber mounts on. I can always take them off. So I'm going to start with them on. Let's be nice to the servos. Sometimes if you want really high precision, you might not use the rubber mountings, because the rubber mountings do flex, and because they flex, then I will also see whether the screws will go through these, because if they won't, then that answers the question as well. If they flex, then you are you've got slightly less precision in the actual positioning of your servo. Okay, so it would suggest that I mount these using MA8, which is metal, from the A pack, which is this one again. Yes, that's bad. This back here, because I didn't put it back, so I want